Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be looking at solar power in Canada.
Okay.
Specifically, we're going to be kind of focusing on what it would take for like a regular family in Alberta to make the switch.
Gotcha.
And we've got a few different sources here that we're going to be looking at today.
Okay.
We've got one from Natural Resources Canada, one from sunly.ca, kubi.ca.
Okay.
There's a couple more, but those are kind of like the big ones.
Great.
So we're going to be looking at like how solar panels even work in the first place.
Yeah.
What the cost is like and what kind of advantages there could be
Awesome.
for you if you were to install these on your house.
Cool.
So yeah, maybe by the end of this episode, you guys will be ready to like harness the power of the sun.
It's pretty cool to think about. I mean, we live in a time where you can actually do that.
I know.
It wasn't always this way.
Yeah.
But yeah, technology's come a long way.
Right. So much has changed even like in the past like 5 years with solar power.
Totally.
Okay, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Yeah.
let's just back up a bit.
Okay.
For those who are like totally new to this, can you just give us a quick rundown of how solar panels even work? Like, how do they actually make electricity?
Yeah, so you see those panels on rooftops, and they're made up of these things called photovoltaic cells.
Photovoltaic.
Yeah, it's a big word.
Yeah.
But they're basically these tiny energy converters.
Okay.
And when sunlight hits them, it creates an electrical current.
So they're just like sucking energy right out of the sun.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then turning it into electricity that we can use.
Yep, that's it.
Wow.
And it's not just like a small amount of energy either.
Oh, yeah.
Like one of our sources here from Natural Resources Canada says that like half of Canada's residential electricity needs could be met
Half?
just from rooftop solar.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it's a lot of energy.
That's wild. Like, I mean,
Think about that, like millions of homes could be
wow.
generating their own clean energy.
So this isn't just like saving a couple bucks on your energy bill. This is like a whole other...
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's like a potential game changer for how we even think about
Yeah.
generating power.
Like, could this be the thing that like finally gets us off of fossil fuels?
Potentially,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not just about like individual households going green. It's about creating like a more resilient energy system.
Yeah. Like, imagine if like every single house
Yeah.
had solar panels.
Exactly.
That'd be nuts.
Yeah, and it's more efficient too.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got these panels soaking up the sun. They're turning it into power.
Mm-hmm.
But like, let's be real here. Most people are probably thinking,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that sounds great, but
How much is it going to cost me?
right, like, is this going to break the bank?
Yeah, well, the initial cost of installing solar panels can be like a lot,
Yeah.
but over time you start to see those costs being offset by your reduced energy bills.
So you're not paying the power company.
Exactly.
You're paying for your solar panels.
Yeah, and one of the sources, sunly.ca, actually suggests that homes with solar panels can see a boost in property value.
Wait, so not only are you saving money
Right.
every month, your house is worth more?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, that's making me pay attention.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about how the panels actually work.
Yeah.
We've talked about like money and stuff.
Yeah.
But we can't just like completely ignore the environmental impact here.
No, for sure.
Like, I think that's a big reason why people are interested in solar in
Totally.
the first place.
Right. And kubi.k highlights how much cleaner solar is compared to fossil fuels.
Okay.
They say it produces 5 to 10 times less
Wow.
carbon emissions per unit of energy.
5 to 10 times.
Yeah, it's a huge difference.
Okay, so you're saving money and you're helping the planet.
Pretty much.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, like individual actions like choosing solar can have a ripple effect.
Okay.
You know, they contribute to a larger movement towards sustainability.
It's like you're not just powering your house, you're like making a statement about what you want the world to be like.
Yeah, it's about empowering people to make choices
Yeah.
that align with their values.
Okay, now I know what some people are thinking.
What's that?
Okay, all this sounds great,
Yeah.
but can I actually afford to do this?
Right?
Like, aren't there like a ton of upfront costs?
Mm-hmm.
What about those of us who,
Yeah.
aren't exactly rolling in dough?
Well, that's where things get interesting.
Huh?
The government has actually stepped in.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
To try to make this whole transition more accessible.
Okay, so there are programs or something.
There are a bunch of incentives and rebates available
Oh, wow.
to help offset those costs.
Okay.
We've got info here on some key programs like the Canada Greener Homes Grant,
Okay.
It offers grants from like $125 to $5,000
What?
for solar installations.
Seriously.
You can even get up to $600 just for having an energy evaluation.
They're paying you
Yeah.
to make your home more energy efficient.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's awesome.
And if you need a bit more help, there are also interest-free loans available
Okay.
for up to $40,000
Wow.
for major home retrofits,
Okay, hold on.
which include,
I'm starting to see a pattern here.
what's that?
Seems like the government is really pushing for this.
Yeah.
Like they want people to switch to...
They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're recognizing that making these kinds of changes can be a lot for people.
Yeah.
So they're trying to help make it more feasible.
So it's not just about the technology.
Yeah.
It's also about the policies
Right.
that make it possible.
Exactly. It's a multifaceted approach.
Multifaceted.
Love it. It involves technological innovation and a shift in mindset
Yeah.
and financial incentives.
Wow, okay. I'm starting to get really intrigued by this whole solar thing.
Yeah.
But before I get too carried away here,
Okay.
let's talk about Alberta specifically.
All right.
Does Alberta have any, unique advantages or challenges when it comes to solar power?
Well, one of the things that stands out about Alberta and southern Canada in general is that we get a decent amount of sunshine.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
I always thought of Alberta as this
Yeah.
cold, snowy place.
Here.
Are you saying we actually have enough sun?
We get enough solar radiation
Okay.
to make solar energy generation viable.
Wow. So even though we're not the sunniest place on Earth,
Right.
we still have enough sun to make this work.
Yeah, you might be surprised.
Yeah.
We get a lot of sun in the summer.
Yeah, okay. But I'm curious, haven't there been some changes to Alberta's policies regarding solar?
Yeah, you're right. There have been some shifts.
Okay.
Some of the previous provincial rebate programs have ended.
So less free money floating around?
Yeah, but it's important to stay informed because things are always evolving.
So it's not like Alberta's turning their back on solar.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like a changing landscape.
The dynamic.
Dynamic.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it.
So yeah, just stay up to date.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here in part one.
We have.
We've talked about how the panels work, the financial benefits, the environmental impact. We even touched on some of the government incentives
We did.
and Alberta's specific context.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
It is. It's exciting stuff.
It is. But before we move on to part two,
Okay.
I'm curious to hear from you guys. What are your biggest concerns or questions about solar?
Yeah, what's holding you back? Or what excites you the most about this idea of harnessing the power of the sun?
Yeah, let us know because we'll be diving deeper into some of the practical aspects of solar in part two.
That's right.
So yeah, stay tuned.
We'll be right back. It's fascinating how many different factors there are to think about when considering solar, right?
Totally. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface,
Yeah,
but we've already covered so much.
we have.
Okay, I think one of the things that might be holding people back is the whole installation process.
Yeah.
That just seems kind of daunting, to be honest.
It's understandable to feel that way, but the good news is you don't have to be a solar expert or try to figure everything out yourself.
Oh, thank goodness.
There are certified solar installers all across Canada
Okay.
who can help make this transition really smooth.
So you're telling me I don't have to climb up on my roof with a toolbox and a prayer?
Not unless you want. These installers are trained professionals.
Okay.
They handle everything from assessing your home's solar potential to designing a custom system that meets your needs, and then of course installing the whole thing.
Oh, wow. Okay, that does take a lot of pressure off.
Yeah,
Just thinking about it.
for sure.
But what about the nitty-gritty details?
Right.
How do I even know if a particular installer is reputable?
Right, well, it's important to do your research.
Okay.
Make sure you're working with someone who is qualified and experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Look for certifications.
Okay.
Check online reviews,
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to ask for references. It's like anything else, you got to shop around.
Get multiple quotes and make sure you actually like the company you're working with.
Right. A good installer is going to be transparent about pricing and warranties and the lifespan of your system.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be able to answer all your questions.
Okay, so we've got the installation part covered,
Mm-hmm.
but there's another big question I have,
Yeah.
especially as an Albertan.
Okay.
What about winter?
What about it?
We get a lot of snow,
Yeah.
we get cloudy days.
Mm-hmm.
Does solar even work
Right.
when the sun isn't shining as brightly?
That's a concern we hear a lot,
Yeah,
and it's a valid one.
right.
While solar panels do produce less energy on cloudy days, they still generate some electricity.
Go.
And modern solar technology has gotten really good even in less than ideal conditions.
So it's not like everything just shuts down
No,
or
no.
a cloud goes overhead.
And a lot of solar systems now are being paired with battery storage.
Oh, okay.
So you can store that extra energy generated during sunny days and use it later, even at night or when it's cloudy.
So it's like having a backup power source.
Exactly. It gives you
Right.
more energy independence and peace of mind, knowing that you're not like completely reliant on the grid.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about individual homes,
Yeah.
but what about like the impact of solar on the entire energy grid?
Right?
Does that even like make a difference?
It does. As more homes adopt solar, it creates what's called distributed generation.
Distributed generation?
Yeah, so instead of relying on these like big power plants,
Hmm.
we start to see smaller energy sources popping up all over the place.
So it's like diversifying our energy portfolio.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it.
Okay.
And this decentralized approach can have some benefits, like it can make the grid more resilient,
Okay.
less vulnerable to outages,
Mm-hmm.
and it can reduce transmission losses.
So it's not just about saving money or going green.
No.
It's about building a better energy system.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting, because when you start thinking about solar this way, it's no longer just an individual choice.
Yeah.
It becomes a collective action that can have these far-reaching consequences.
It's like a domino effect.
Totally. One person installs solar, then another, and suddenly we're not just talking about individual homes, we're talking about transforming communities.
Yeah.
Even cities.
Wow. Okay. I'm like,
It's exciting.
yeah, I'm getting inspired here.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away with saving the world,
Okay.
let's bring it back down to earth for a second.
Right.
We've talked a lot about the benefits.
We have.
Are there any like downsides or challenges?
That's a great point. It's important to approach any major decision like this with a balanced perspective.
Mm-hmm.
While solar has a lot of advantages, there are a few things to keep in mind.
Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Costs.
Right.
We've talked about the upfront cost,
Mm-hmm.
the government incentives.
Yeah.
But is there anything else that people should be thinking about when it comes to the financial side of things?
Yeah. It's important to remember that the cost of solar panels can vary a lot.
Okay.
Depending on the size of the system,
Yep.
the type of panels you choose, the complexity of the installation, and even like your location.
So you got to do your research.
You really do get multiple quotes from different installers.
Okay.
So you can compare and make sure you're getting a good deal.
So it's not just like a one-size-fits-all situation.
No, definitely not.
Okay, what about like maintenance and repairs?
Right. Well, solar panels are generally pretty durable.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need a lot of upkeep,
All right.
but there's always a chance that something could go wrong.
So factor in a little contingency fund just in case.
Yeah, and most manufacturers offer warranties on their panels,
Oh, okay.
usually between like 10 and 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to check what's covered.
Okay, so another thing to check off the list.
Right.
Wow. It sounds like there's a lot to consider.
There is. It's a big decision.
Yeah.
It requires planning and research,
Mm-hmm.
but the potential rewards can be huge.
Okay, so before we jump into part 3,
Okay.
I think it's important to acknowledge this is a big decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something to just like jump into,
Right.
but it's also really exciting to think about.
It is. It's about weighing the pros and cons,
Mm-hmm.
being informed, and making the choice that feels right for you.
Yeah, I think we've done a pretty good job laying out those pros and cons.
I think so too.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I have a question for you, the listener.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah. Have we sparked your interest in solar, or maybe you still have some doubts?
What resonates with you?
What questions do you have?
Let us know.
Yeah. Share your thoughts on social media.
Or leave a comment.
On our website, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our solar deep dive.
That's right.
We've covered like a ton of info,
Yeah, we have.
from how solar panels even work to the bigger picture stuff like the impact on the environment and the energy grid.
It's been a journey.
It really has. And my brain is like full.
Full of solar knowledge.
Exactly. But now I'm kind of wondering like what's next?
Yeah.
What can our listeners actually do with all this knowledge?
Right. Well, it's great to talk about solar energy, but it's all about taking action.
So like what's the first step?
Well, it might sound simple, but the first step is just to do your research.
Okay.
Dive deeper into the things we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Explore those websites. Look at those installers in your area.
Yeah.
Read those reviews. Maybe reach out to some people you know who have gone solar.
Yeah, word of mouth is huge,
It really is.
especially for something like this.
Yeah, hearing from someone you trust can make a big difference.
Totally. And there's also like the power of community.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like finding those groups or online forums
Right.
where you can connect with other solar enthusiasts.
Absolutely. It's a great way to share information, ask questions, learn from each other.
It's like building a support system for going solar.
Exactly. And you might even find some local experts.
Right, in your neighborhood.
Yep, who are willing to share their knowledge.
That's awesome.
It is.
Okay, so we've got research, we've got community,
Yep.
but there's also this other important element, and I think it's mindset.
Mindset. Okay, tell me more about that.
It's really easy to get caught up in all the technical details, the cost of logistics.
Right.
But I think it's also important to remember why we're even talking about solar.
You're talking about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Those values that drive our interest in solar energy.
Exactly, like our choices have an impact on the world around us.
They do.
It's about taking responsibility for our energy and contributing to a healthier planet.
It's about empowering ourselves to make a difference.
Yeah, and solar offers a real way to do that.
It does. It's not just about reducing our carbon footprint. It's about taking control of our energy future.
Okay, so we've talked about research, community, mindset. What about the actual practical steps?
Okay, so we've talked about research, community, mindset. What about the actual practical steps?
Okay, so once you've done your research and you're feeling good about moving forward,
Yeah.
the next step is to contact a few different solar installers.
Okay.
They can assess your house, design a system, and give you a quote.
So get those quotes.
Get those quotes.
But make sure you're comparing apples to apples.
Yes. Make sure you understand what's included in each quote. The types of panels, the warranties, any extra services.
And don't forget about those government incentives.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There might be some money out there to help you with the costs.
Absolutely. Do your homework.
Okay, so before we wrap up this whole deep dive,
Okay.
we want to leave you with a final thought.
Right.
What's holding you back from going solar?
Is it the cost? Is the installation process?
Maybe you just don't know where to start?
Yeah, could be any of those things.
Whatever it is, we hope this deep dive has helped.
Yeah, and shown that solar is a real option
Yeah.
for families in Alberta and all across Canada.
It's possible.
It
The
is.
future of energy is bright.
It is, and it might be shining right on your roof.
Ooh, I like that. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.